Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today it's time for February's art tag. So the prompt for February is marks. All about mark making. So making marks the word marks is a simple word, but it's got plenty of room for interpretation and for maneuverability. So the project today is all about the marks that your hands naturally make, or using materials or things that are just found lying around the house, or anything that can create an unusual kind of mark on a surface with either ink or paint or anything else. All of it counts really. So rather than aiming for a specific kind of image on this one, what I kind of want to do is just create texture. So to start off with, I've got my tag. I've got some paint up here, so I'm just going to stick to a very basic 2 or 3 colour image, and I've gone for, give it a shake up because it hasn't been used for ages, some Tim Holtz distress paint in, this is the salvaged patina. So we're going to kind of go a little bit steampunky, maybe, possibly. So let's get some of that on there. So rather than use a brush, I'm going to use a spatula, a palette knife, and we're going to create some marks using the paint in the background. So rather than painting it all on, we're just going to scrape down, leaving a little bit of gaps, a little bit of areas, white space around the outside, and then we're going to heat it and I'm going to dry it. Alright, so that's dry enough now for me to work on. Now my screen in front of me shows that as being very, very bright. I'm hoping it's not quite as in your face as it's showing on my computer screen in front of me, but there we go. So that's mostly dry. There are a few little areas there which is still a little bit shiny, but that's fine. It's not a problem at all. So the next thing we want to do is to start layering up some colours using these other paints that we've got here. So I've got some Finnabair liquid acrylic, and I met Finnabair on Saturday in person, which was nice. So let's grab a little brush, and I've got some bubble wrap. So this is something, again, just household bubble wrap, which you've probably got loads of it lying around. So something like this is absolutely perfect for creating marks and texture into the background of your artworks. It's all about allowing the build-up of texture on your project pieces. So I'm going to add a little bit more paint just on there. And the beauty about the bubble wrap is you can just wipe it clean and use it again, or you can just throw it away, because we've all got tons of the stuff kicking around all over the place. Just add a little bit there and a little bit there. So I'm doing quite a lot of that background using the bubble wrap. So I'll drop the brush back into my water, just clean that up. I've not cleared that patina away because we may need to come back and use that again in a little while. So again, let's get that dried off. All right, so that burnt sienna, I don't think I mentioned the name, so that's dried. So that's now created a nice bit of texture in that background. So I want to build up some others now. So I've got some 22 karat gold. It's called 22 carat as in the vegetable. gold because play on words, because it's also orange. So now I'm going to go in and just pick some of that up and start creating some marks using this. Now this is the lid from a spritzer bottle, just like that. And again, these sorts of things are, you've probably got absolutely loads of them lying around. And we're just going to build up layers. So the object is the marks, not any kind of focal image. Just allow your mark making to take center stage. All right. So while we've still got that orangey paint, I'm going to come in. So this is one of those centers from doggy poo bags. If you've got a dog, you've probably, and you have those bag things, you've probably got loads of these as well. And it's just all about creating those marks. You do repeating motifs. That's pretty much the way it is. So that's 3 items so far that we've created marks with. 4 if you count the spatula. All right, now sometimes when we've got an excess of paint that we've left on our surface and we get the heat gun on it, it starts to bubble. That's fine, leave it, because it's extra texture, and that's exactly what we're wanting. We're wanting different textures on our surface. Okay, so let me just grab a quick wipe. Again, I'm not getting rid of the blue just yet, or green, depending on how your colour spectrum works. That salvage patina can be a green or it can be a blue. Everybody's eyes are different and they all see that differently. Okay, so next I'm going to bring in some white. And again, we're going to use white gesso this time. And I'm going to lift some of that white gesso out of the pot. Just dry the brush off. This gesso is quite gloopy. It's nearing its pot life, I think, as some paints do. And then I'm going to pick up an old credit card or debit card, banker's card, ATM card. You can use hotel keys, you can use travel passes, whatever it is. And I'm just going to grab the edge and then create some horizontals and some verticals. There we go. Let's flip that over just to get the paint off the other side. And then we can just give that a wipe off. and that can go back into your little mark making tub. I have a plastic tub where I keep all of my mark making bits and pieces, so I keep a special tub to one side where I throw everything in that I want to use. I'm just trying to find it at the moment. I put it down somewhere. I got all the pieces out that I thought I was going to use. There, look, there we go. So that'll go back in there. So once I've dried these other ones off, or maybe just left to dry, I'll just toss them back in. Just wipe that off. And just chuck it back in again. So I've got different kind of tools that I have. Bits of bubble wrap. I've got some spare bubble wrap that I'll throw back in there in a little while. But I've got all sorts of different sized circles. I've got big ones, small ones. Oop. I've got that one. That was from a cardboard tube that we used for the Mission Inspirations quite a few years ago now, and I kept it because it's a nice big circle for doing, well, it's for doing big circles. And literally you can just pick your paint up and do circular marks, circular motions, and then just throw it back in again. Easy as that. So grab that, and then we'll just wipe up that excess white. Now the reason I've kept the blue to one side is just in case we go too far and we want to add some more back onto the surface, but I think actually we're all right so far. Okay, so let me just have a quick dry of that white, quick tidy, and then I'll be right back. All right, so just as the final kind of texture layer on this, I'm going to just introduce a little bit of black. So I've got some black gesso here, and I'm just going to put a little bit down on the worktop, and I've got a strip of burlap, Hessian, and I'm going to just paint some gesso onto that, then flip that over and then lay that down onto the tag and then lift that up. Now look at the texture that you're getting. So what I suggest you do, if you haven't got a mark making toolkit yet, is find yourself an old margarine tin or an old ice cream container, something that's got a little bit of a lid on it, or indeed one of these kind of like DL boxes that you can get all over the place, or an A5 one, something like that, and then just start walking around the house looking for things that have texture or an edge to them. So anything, any lids, any bottle caps, anything that's got an odd texture or an odd kind of shape to it that you think would make a good mark, throw it in your tub. Just throw it in your tub. And then keep it to one side for later, because that way you'll always have something in your toolbox for creating unusual or different marks to create a little bit of texture. But of course, we'll always need bubble wrap, because that's like a go-to. And of course, you can create marks or you can create texture with stenciling, but it's not the same thing. So these are all real life items. Now, I've also got this. So this was from a set of cake decorating tools. So this is for buttercream. So you go around the outside of your cake creating grooves and lines in buttercream. But again, this is something that when you put paint on the edge there, you're going to get a dotted line. and I'll try and demonstrate that with a different colour, one that's going to go with what we've already got. Now I'm looking for a kind of greeny yellow. What we've got here, what's this paint colour here? And again, remember, you can use ink just as well as you can use paint. That's not a problem. So we've got this called pale lime. Let's see whether or not that's going to do us any good. Take that little, oh, look at that. That's nice. Excuse the knock in. All right, so let's grab some of that paint. And I can put it down on your worktop, or you can just come along and actually paint the edge. Like so. And then introduce that. And we've got some really nice kind of subtle dots, almost perforations if you like. And you can do those to your heart's content. And I'll lift up the tag in a moment to the camera, so if you're finding it difficult to see those, then I'll show you them a bit close up. So, well, I'm glad the camera's not picking up the noises from outside, because Ian's got music on in his shed at the moment and I can hear him singing along to West Side Story. Not a cliche. There we go, that'll do, I think. Again, it's always just knowing when to stop with these things. But because the mark making is going to be the central point, because we've got no focal image, no picture of a lady or no animals or flowers or anything like that, we're going to leave that as it is. So let me lift that up. So can you see the lines that have been created using that tool? Just very, very nice, subtle lines. So once again, let me give that a quick blast with the heat gun. All right, so had a little bit of a tidy up because I thought, no, I probably won't end up using that blue after all. So I quickly used it and wiped onto a page in an art journal because waste not, want not. Okay, so the next step that I've got then is just to add a little quote, just a little something, just not necessarily as a focal, but just as a finishing touch. And it's just going to be really, really small. And while I was talking about just doing enough, I could hear John Lennon's voice echoing in my head. So I decided that's exactly what it's going to be. And that is exactly what it is. So I've just printed the words "Let It Be" on a little address label, and I'm just gonna add a little border all the way around, because that's exactly what we need to do. Is when you'd start doing your layers, just as soon as you think you've got enough, let it be. Just step away and leave it. So that's what it is. So that is my tag for February, and like I said, it's all about mark making. So I hope you've enjoyed watching. So if you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. And don't forget, if you want to play along with me and create your art tag with the theme of marks, then please do feel free to share it in the Mike Deakin's Creative Community Facebook group. There's a link on screen at the moment, and there is also a clickable link below the video. So I look forward to seeing what you create using that marks prompt. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.